And you are here for enrichment activities with Google. And again, my name is Jessica Esposito. I'm excited to share some enrichment activities with you. Welcome. Fourth grade. I love fourth grade. That was one of my favorite grades to teach. All right, if you would like to make a copy, you are more than welcome to make a copy of my slide. Here is the bit.ly. It's NCBOLD Enrichment 1, all lowercase. You are welcome to make a copy and use whatever you would like. And I also have the name of the, in case you didn't get it the first time, it's always in the bottom corner of our presentation. How are you feeling today? I love this picture from Pet Heaven, I should say. How are you feeling today? I am 4. I'm so excited to be here. And number 4 sort of looks like my dog, or how my dog usually looks. My dog is Paul. If you want to share, if you have a pet, you can share that in the chat. I would love to see what you guys have. And how are you feeling on a scale of 1 to 6, according to dogs? 6, yeah, tired. That's how I was Saturday night. That's for sure, Ashley. A 4, yeah. I'm definitely a 4. That's my dog. Every time he comes in, you gonna give me a treat? You were a 4, now you're going to be, oh, I hope you get something out of this. Oh, that's so fun. And you are welcome to unmute yourself if you want to share anything about your pet, because I love to talk about my pets. Oh my goodness. If it was my cat, Charlie, it would be a number 5. He is like a grumpy old man. He does not want anyone talking to him. All right, well, you guys are tired, so we will get moving and started. All right, so our session description, I know it was in the app, but just in case, this is where you're going to learn about a variety, excuse me, I cannot speak, let me think, a variety of tools that can be created to enrich and personalize your classroom. So these are all things that I have used in the classroom, both as a teacher, as a media coordinator, and now as an ITF. These are just different ways and things that you can use in your classroom with a variety of grade levels. Okay, and again, learn some different enrichment activities. So that's the objective, and digital resources. All right, the 4 C's. Whenever a teacher approaches me, or when I was in the classroom, I always wanted to design a program, whether it was a way to teach something or a way to enrich something. A standard or an objective is using the 4 C's. I love the 4 C's. I love when students can communicate, collaborate, also do some critical thinking, and be creative. That is what I love to see students doing the most, is being creative in the classroom. I am not a worksheet teacher. They have their place, don't get me wrong, but creativity is my thing. And then SAMR, if you are familiar with SAMR, it's just a way of thinking about technology in the classroom, whether you're substituting, all the way to redefining how a product or a product of learning is presented or created. So some of these might be substitution for you, and some might be the pumpkin spice latte, you know, wow the kids. So just different ways of thinking. I did not make either of these, and I did cite both of the people who created these images. With this conference, we are focusing on the digital learning standards. And so the main digital learning standard, even though it does hit a couple of different ones, that teachers will know and use appropriate digital tools and resources for instruction. And then with the students, the digital learning standards for students, I listed all of them because each of the projects I'm going to share with you hit different things. So most of them are empowering the learner. Some might be the computational thinker, knowledge constructor, creative communicator. So they're and global collaborators. So some of these projects I'm going to share do have the global. So there's all different things. And all of these items I set for you, and if you made a copy of the presentation, then you would also make a forced copy of these. So these are some of the things. All right, we're going to get started. So here is the Google Enrichment s'more. If you just want to link the s'more, click on the s'more. Most of these are linked through the s'more, but I also put the links in the presentation also. And if you do not use s'more, I love s'more. This is one of my favorite ways of presenting information to classes, to teachers, to parents, to principals to share on their social media. Whenever I do something with students, a project with students, I put it in a s'more and they can just automatically share it. All right, so the government enrichment pathway. And I set it up so that always will make a copy, and it just takes my computer a few minutes. So this is our third grade teachers were doing a unit on the government, and they contacted me and said, Jessica, what can you share or what can you create so our students can do some enrichment during R&E time? So here is, this is just using Google Slides, using a table. And with it, so the students would click, they would get a viewable link, and then this would take them to slide 2. And then it has all the links in it with arrows. So depending on what pathway the students have, or the students want to do this on their own, they would follow these links, and it would take them, you know, if they wanted to study the Schoolhouse Rock lyrics, they like music, here's the School Rock, how bill becomes a law, the Electoral College, the Constitution, and then this would lead them to a Google form that they would fill out and show what they learned to their teacher, so the teacher knew what they were doing, or the teacher knew what they learned, so they weren't just wasting time. This one has different ways of going through and using the United States government and going to, I believe this goes, yes, it goes to Britannica. I love NCWise OWL. I have a link later on with NCWise OWL. I love using NCWise OWL, and you can use that here in North Carolina. Everyone has it. So this one led them to NCWise OWL through Britannica. And what I love about this, it plays it for them and it highlights them, highlights the word so the kids can see it. Also, they have links over here with pictures. They have videos, interactive things for kids to do on NCWise OWL. So if you are not using NCWise OWL, any subject, any grade level, they have great things. So back to enrichment with Google. So with this, I just put in the links. I checked all the links. I talked to the teachers. I collaborated with the teachers and just began building each of these in the links, in the boxes, excuse me, and set them through. And then this one over here, if they didn't want to learn or didn't want to go to, or if they checked all of them, they could then go to the next slide. And this one was same thing, focusing on government, but through our national parks. So all of these are free websites through our national parks. If you are not using our national parks as an enrichment in your classroom, let me tell you, start. They have amazing websites, and I may be preaching to the choir. You may already be using national parks in your classroom, but they have amazing things. They have photo galleries. They have information about, like they have dates. You can even have the kids create a timeline through the photo gallery of how everything was created. And they have kids. They have national park information just for kids too. It does take a little bit of time. I will tell you, I did not make this in one evening. It took me a couple weeks to make it because I needed to check all the websites and of course send it to the teachers. But this is there. If you teach third grade or if you teach government in your classroom, this is already made for you and you can use it. You are more than welcome to use it. The only thing you would want to change is the Google form down here. Put a new link because that would then go to me or the teacher that I shared this with originally. So that is one on government. And let's go back. This one, the same thing. This one though is on solar system, and I have used this one for both 3rd grade and 6th grade. And then this one I used when we did have VR goggles, and this was their break in between the VR goggles, and then the teacher used it as enrichment after we did the solar system VR. They used it, they put it in their Google Classroom and had students share. So the same setup, I just made a copy. Just if you want, just go make a copy of the entire presentation. And then again, the same exact setup I used once I created it, and I just made copies. So this one is a tour of the solar system, different ways of learning about the solar system and the planets. And then this one was different websites about astronomy and the space and the Hubble Space Telescope. PBS, I love using PBS as for enrichment. And then the next slide, I use NASA, PBS, Night to Moon, Night to Day. So these are just different videos on YouTube, on their websites that I use for enriching things. And this is great also. So if you have that kid that just loves the weather, like you could create one on weather and they could just constantly go through this. I see some of you smiling, you know what I'm talking about when you get those kids that love one thing. I mean, think about the enrichment you could create for them, and they could do this during their, if they get all their work done or at home on their own. This is just one way of using Google Slides to create enrichment, and also good for creating background knowledge too. So it could be one of your centers for background knowledge. All right. So the next one, this is another way of using Google Slides. I have people that have also used Google Slides or Google Drawing to do the same thing. And I think Seesaw does it now automatically. So before we were using Seesaw, some of the teachers wanted ways for kids to use Google Slides with their iPads to do drag and drop. So this was one that I created for them just to follow suit and change. So you could do bugs and insects and reptiles. I want to find the one where it has it on the side. So what I did with Google Slides here, and again, you can make a copy of it, just created boxes. And we did long vowels and short vowels. And then over here on the side, I created more boxes. And then the kids would just have to drag and drop them over into the correct box. So this is more K2, but I'm sure you could do this with vocabulary or different things with students. So again, here is the insect and reptiles and the bees. And this is just one way of doing it. It's just a way of setting up Google Slides, creating text boxes, and then the kids would just do drag and drop. One of our reading specialists, she uses this all the time. She just makes a copy of it, of the entire thing, and then she just puts in her new words and her new whatever she was focusing on that week. Questions? Yes, sorting shapes. Oh my God, I couldn't speak today. I'm so sorry. Sorting shapes for math. That is a great idea. Thank you, Michelle. Yes, and yes, my dog is a 6, always covered up and sleeping. Yes, definitely. Mine actually took the blanket off his cushion. I don't know what he did. He's like, it's in the middle of the floor now. I don't know. But anyway, yes, sorting shapes for math is perfect. Google Drawing also has that too. But I love, so if you were to do one, I'm trying to find the shapes. Insert. They have the shapes already there, so already made for you. So you can just create shapes and drag them over. That's perfect. Yes, great ideas. Thank you for sharing that. All right, so that was a solar system drag and drop. Then, okay, so this is a Google site, and I had a teacher for her animal project. She wanted to create a Google site for the students. So you can use Google Sites, and you can click on this and you can make a copy of it. And if the copy is not available, just email me. I have that at the very end. You guys can just email me if you want a copy of this. So she wanted to create a digital Google site, escape room kind of like for them. And so for her animal project, so they went to take me to clue 1. And what we did here is I created a Google form. So they had to put their answer over here, but first they had to read it. And this I got straight from Britannica, from NCBOLD Owl. I'm just going to move our pictures over here. And they had to read this, and I cited my sources. I did do that. I put the picture from the article. But if a student couldn't read that, if it was too high above their level, I also put in the link for the read aloud to take them right to Britannica for to read to them. So it was there. And then once the student read that, then they would fill out the Google form. They would have to type their name, and then they would have to type their answer. Now, the one thing I did do here is I put a lock on it, and they had to type the correct answer. And then also though, guys, it's highlighted over here because this was for 2nd grade, so I did highlight the word for them. Once they did clue 2, I have to move our pictures again. Once they finished clue 2, they would click on clue 2. Now this one, the teacher specifically wanted reading in all of them, so it's the exact same setup for them. So they had to read the article. I put the link. Now, can they go through and just click like I am without filling out the Google form? Yes. But that was up to the teacher in the classroom to go back through and check her Google form and say, you know, Susie, you didn't finish that Google Escape. You need to go back and type your answers. So that was up to the teacher to do it. So there is a little back there. But same thing here. I highlighted the word. I didn't tell the kids I highlighted the word. And then I put a picture in there. And then I cite my sources, and then I also had the link to the read aloud. And then on the final page, I did do something fun for them because they were studying animals. I put in the dodo. If you have not seen the dodo videos, oh my goodness. Or follow the dodo on Discovery Plus or on Twitter. Oh my goodness, I love their videos. And they're perfect for kids. So I put in a little video for them at the end. So I have that. And if you guys have any questions, you're more than welcome to unmute yourself and ask questions, or you can put it in the chat. I keep trying to check the chat. All right. The next one is a different digital escape that I have. This one was a little different. This was another 2nd grade. I always work. 2nd grade just seems to want to work. This is 2nd grade. And she wanted more than just reading on this one. So they did have to read a little bit on this one. This one's on plant pollination. And then again, the same setup. Take me to clue 1. And then I did have the reading because she did want some reading in there. So they did have to do some reading for information. And again, I put the link for the read aloud. I put it, and I'm trying to set it up the same way for 2nd grade so that the kids knew once they could do it, they could do it. It's the same setup. Now then, the next thing I did on this one, we put in some videos. So I inserted some videos, and they had to watch the 2 videos. And then over here, they had to answer a question and submit it. But and the question was specifically in the videos. So I did put in 2 videos for this one. And then after they did that, they went to clue 3. Now this one I have to go back in and change because Google Poly was shut down on June 30th. And so originally I had them going to the Google Poly, and they did the whole virtual 3D reality on their computer or on their iPads. But I have to change that and find something different to put in here because Google Poly is no longer with us. And I am crying on the inside. If anyone else used Google Poly, it was like fantastic. But anyway, so that was another escape room. And then again, I used the dodo with them too about the animals. So little video for them. Now, on this, so I had so Google Form, I'm sure you guys know all about Google Form. Oh, that's drag and drop. Never mind. I have the link in there twice. I apologize. So this right here is the directions that I learned. I learned from Jessica Cosma from NC Ties. not this year, but last year, the last one we had in person, how to make a Google site, how to build a digital escape room. All her directions are already there. She was fantastic. I learned from her and went nuts. And I literally learned by watching this. So I listened to her talk, got her website, and here it is. She has amazing, and she has first grade. And I was like, if first grade can do it, second grade can do it. So this is everything on how to create your Google site, and it's all there, all the directions step by step. So I want to give her all the credit. She's amazing. And then here was another one that I learned at NC Ties. This one uses Google sites, but they use Jigsaw Planet, Lights Out, and the generator, CMS generator. I haven't used this one too much, but I thought I would share it with you guys. I also learned at NC Ties with them also. Okay, and then PolyGoogle is gone. So the next thing I'm going to share is my third grade explorers around the world. They explored, and this was Enrichment. So third grade in our school district, in this particular school, uses Engage New York, and they study libraries in one of their units, libraries around the world and what different libraries look like. And one of the teachers, Jeanette Bodicher, she wanted to have her students explore other libraries. So she contacted me and said, hey, can you help out with this project? I was like, sure, this is great. So I love the 4 C's. Whenever I was a teacher, when I was a librarian, and now as an ITF, I always think about students, and I love the 4 C's. So I put that in there. And then here is some information about personalized learning if you haven't already from the state. And then here is all the different learning activities that we did with third grade. So they taught on their own in their classroom, they taught the Engage New York ELA Module 1. And they read My Librarian is a Camel and how books are brought to children around the world. Her kids loved it. So then she said, can you create this? So I'm going to show you this enrichment activity that I created for her students. So what I did with her students, so during their R&E time, I pulled her students. So I did this for about 2 weeks, for about 40 minutes was her R&E time. And we created, libraries around the world. And I use Google Slides for this entire thing. This did take me quite a bit of time because I researched everything and then I put it together. It doesn't look like much, but when we get into the links, you will see. Here are all the standards for third grade. And here are the I can statements. And we did get into all of these over the 2 weeks. They had to read for information. They had to do writing. They had to, capital letters, periods, you name it, they did it. I had a very small group, I will tell you that. She had 7 students that wanted to do that as their enrichment during their R&E time. So I had those students. These were our instructions. Now I was in there and I did kind of lead them for a little bit, and then they did take off on their own, but I was always there helping them, and it was just me and the 7 students. So they independently reviewed as many of the libraries on the playlist as possible, and they would click the arrows, and then they had to choose their favorite library. They had to review all the links again, and then they had to take notes. And they had to highlight or add their biggest takeaways, and then they had to create questions. So then they had to write a letter to this library. And then they had to come up with 2 questions that they were not able to find their answer on at all, anywhere on the library, on their website. They could not, they had to come up with an individual question. Or 2 questions, excuse me. And then they had to come up with 2 compliments. They had to compliment what they liked about the library. And then I gave them a sample of a letter, and then they had to share it with me in a Google Drive. So then what I did is I reviewed libraries around the world. And And so, for example, in Canada, I found Toronto libraries. And I also made all the pages to all the states and the countries look the same. So every single one had this generic picture at the top. It had the name of the country or the state, and then I had libraries. So, or library if I only picked one. So this was the Toronto library. I had their address there for the students so that they could add that to their letter. And then I had links to the actual website, the Toronto website. And then I went through and I reviewed as many, I had to find appropriate videos for all the kids. Again, this is third grade, so I had to make sure I had to watch all the videos. So this took me a while. So here was a 360 video that the kids watched of the Toronto Public Library, and they loved all the videos that they watched. They had no idea that a library could be so amazing. So they watched all the videos, and I'll show you some other ones that they enjoyed. So this just gives you a sample. And then they also, I think, is this the one where they showed the building? There was one in Canada where they had, oh, I got to fix that link. So there's one where, oh, it was Calgary. So here is the time lapse of them building this library in Calgary. And I remember the kids absolutely loved this one, especially the boys. You wouldn't think that they would love. So just this, seeing it from scratch, from ground up, they really enjoyed it. So there's that video. And then let's see. So every single page was set up this way. It would have the same thing at the top. It had the name, address, it had descriptions, it had links for each library that it went to. And then, oh, it's back there. Where'd it go? There it is. I want to show you Japan, because the one little boy absolutely loved the video from Japan. He loved the, oh, they have a bookmobile. So we talked about bookmobiles because we don't have one in our county. So they really got into the bookmobiles also. Just the fact that there were bookmobiles, they thought that was so cool. Okay. So I'll fast forward to the bookmobile. So they thought that was really cool that a library was in the bookmobile. But then there is I think this is it, the video. Yes, the world's most beautiful. So according to this YouTuber, this is the most beautiful library, but it is beautiful. He wanted to go there, like one little boy. There we go. So he loved, I'll fast forward it a little bit. Maybe not. But just that it's all wood and it's quiet. Try to find. So you can see all the wood in there. This one little boy watched this video over and over. He loved it. So they really got into how all the different libraries were built, where they were located, what they looked like, what the different websites looked like. And then, so they had to pick, if we had time, they picked one from around the world and then one from the United States. And I will show you Colorado because they really got into the Colorado one. Why is it doing it? Because they have a giant chicken. So the Denver Public Library had a giant chicken. There was this whole thing about this chicken. They loved the chicken. So I tried to find videos that would really get the kids excited and interested in the libraries. So they had the giant chicken. And so the chicken's right there in the back. I know you're like, why would they have a giant chicken? Great. So they did. And then also and there's a bookmobile. So we talked about another bookmobile. But then there was this that the moose came to the library and the library had to close because the moose found their heated, oh, did I have to change it? So a moose came to this library because it had heated sidewalks, and I guess during a snowstorm, the moose laid down on the, and moose are very dangerous, um, and laid down on the sidewalk, on the heated sidewalk. And then not only did it come back the next day, but it brought a friend. So the moose, I know, and it's not working, it's not coming up, but I do have, so I have a picture I found on Twitter. So the moose brings a family to the library and you can see the moose. So they had to close the library a couple of days in a row because the moose kept coming. So here's some more pictures of the moose. So the kids thought that was great. So not only did Denver have the chicken, but then Denver also, Colorado had the moose coming and they had to close the library because of the moose. So anyway, so back to, so you can see how I set it up. I have the country, the United States. I put the state, Colorado there. And then I put the address, I put some information and links. And then again, I have another one in there with their address and links in the description. And then I had the moose story because I thought that was interesting. And the kids found it interesting too. So this project, you may think, oh, it's only a couple of pages, but I have links to all different, 4 different states. I try to do it in the Midwest, on the East Coast and West Coast of the United States. And then I tried to get one on every continent around the world. So not only was I teaching or enriching, I should say, the libraries around the world, map skills, writing skills, because they had to write a letter to the libraries. And then they had to read for information because they had to find 2 questions that they could not find the answers because they were like, oh, how many checkouts do you have? And I was like, really? Let me find that for you. And I found it on the website and I was like, you gotta get more creative, guys. So, and then they had to find 2 compliments and the compliments came out to be really easy. The kids could do that, but it was the reading for information and coming up with a question that really took them a long time. And then I also listed all of my sources because none of this content is my own. So I first I put it in the slides and then it got too big. So all of my sources and YouTube videos are on there. So you can see I used Google Slides and then I used Shapes to link to a Google Doc. So that's how I enriched with this project. And Jeanette Bodicher really was, she's a well, now she's going to 5th grade, but she was a 3rd grade teacher at one of our elementary schools. And this was her idea originally, and then I just took her idea and created this enrichment program for her students. And then I set up time during her R&E time. So this took 2 weeks with 7 students for about 40 minutes a day. So just to give you an idea. But you could do this in your classroom. I mean, you could do it with your assistant. Whatever works for you. So the students, they had to take notes on either a Google Doc or paper. Most of them brought their notebook. And then I had them, they could type or they could do handwritten letters. I let them choose whichever one they wanted. But I did, because it was such a small group, I did have them check their capitals, check for periods. Did they use the correct information? So I read over their stuff completely. So there are some of our the students checking everything out. They must have been talking about the chicken because they were really excited about the chicken. And then here they are working. Some of them brought their headphones because they watched different videos. They worked individually, or if they watched the same video, they would work together. Let me find some more. So she loved the chicken, definitely. Here's her class. Now her class, oh my gosh, was set up for, this again was before the pandemic. She really took personalized learning to, her classroom was all personalized. It was amazing. The kids could pick where they set up. You can see there, he's looking at the one in Japan. He's the one, he wrote to Japan. There's the chicken again. So they really got into it. And there we are working in small groups. And then you can see she wanted to handwrite her letter. So here's her handwritten letter. And then here you can see where he had his notes and he was typing on the computer. And then I think I took another picture. There's some more notes that students were taking, and they were working collaboratively together. And you can see they have their website up, and she was handwriting her letter. And so I have some basic directions here. So but you are more than welcome to make a copy of my project and just tweak it to your own. And then, so I created the slides. One thing's very important with the students is that you do view only when you're creating this with your students, or for your students, excuse me. I use NCWise Owl. I use the maps. I got the map images from NCWise Owl. And then again, I created the Google Doc with view only. And then I have some directions there. So that was that project. All right, so let's see where we are in our slides. Okay, so I did the libraries around the room. I did the escape room. I did plant pollination. So I did all these. Okay, this one, the next one is fun, and you guys can use your chat box if you want to play along. So last year during the pandemic, we couldn't see my family in New York. And so we started having Zoom meetings. We started having Zoom family gatherings, and then it turned into, let's do something fun. So we created, or not created, excuse me, we got a Jeopardy, Google Slides Jeopardy from, I believe his name's Eric. I have his information on there. So we started playing Music Jeopardy with the family. And I looked up the copyright because I want to make sure. So if you play a song less than 30 seconds, you're not breaking copyright law with music. So Eric Curtis created this Jeopardy slides, and he has it on there. There's his information. There's his email. There is his website. He created this. We took it and we created Music Jeopardy. And you say, how is this school related? Well, my music teachers at the middle school had used this the last 2 weeks of school. This could also be fun with students if you're doing a unit on people, studying biographies and you're studying singers. I don't know. You can use it for fun. Kids love music. I know they do. So anyway, so we created this. And I have to put this in present mode. You are more than welcome to use the chat box. So what we did is, for my family, because we're all different ages, we went with crooners to yacht rock. We have, a little bit of 80s in there too, but you are more than welcome. So we play this for less than 30 seconds, so you're not breaking copyright. And then my family, of course, they would shout it out over Zoom. But then with the students, we would have them, so that's Can't Take Your Eyes Off You by Frankie Valli. So with the students, what we did is we had them use whiteboards, and then they would either write the singer, or they would write whatever the music teacher or band teacher wanted them to, talk about, whether they were talking about the singer or the music or the name of the song. Sometimes they talked about the beat. I'm not musically inclined, so I don't know that kind of stuff. But so that was fun. They did that the last 2 weeks of school. And then when I was talking to some of the elementary teachers that I shared this with, they said that they could do that, connect it to, they could have kids make music boards that connected to readers, books. What did the poem make you think of? You know, just different ways of using music, and then you could share it with your students. So that's one of them. But another thing that we did with Music Jeopardy is Holly Jolly Christmas. So if you're having a Christmas celebration, here is one about Christmas songs. But you could do like music around the world. You could do holidays around the world. This one was, you know, again, I created for my family. We do celebrate Christmas. But if you're thinking in the classroom, you could definitely do holidays around the world, music around the world. So here's one. So we did Christmas movies, country Christmas, 80s Christmas. I mean, we were like running out of boxes. So that's just another way of doing it. But you have to do it in present mode. So we did that one. And then, so Kids Bop. So one of my, what grade was she in? I think she's 3rd grade. She wanted to do a Kids Bop one with her students. So we made one specifically for elementary students, and they had a blast. And it does take, to go through the whole board, it does take approximately, depending on how much time you spend with it, it could take 20 minutes to 40 minutes, you know, if you're giving fun facts, if you're doing different things. I'll put this in present mode. So with the students, they of course went to Disney, and they were like, what movie is it? So of course they all knew it was Frozen. I had a set of students, some boys that were, and you can see how it's set up. So you just insert the, right here, you just insert the audio clip. So you would cut the clips, and you want to keep it at 30 seconds. You cut the clips, you put them in Google Drive, and then you insert the audio into them. And you can just make a copy of any of these, and then just like go ahead and add things, change things, however you want to do it with the kids. They guessed Sleeping Beauty on all 5 Disney things. It was hilarious. Another one that was fun with my family is music and TV. So however you think of this with students and however it fits into your classroom and fits into your curriculum, it could be something fun. You could create a Spotify playlist and play it for a couple of weeks, and then have the kids, you know, it could be a fun Friday thing, or however you want to do it. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, my brother got most of these within 5 seconds. It was hilarious. Oh, I got to go back into present mode. So here's the cartoon theme. So that one, we said it. So we kind of, especially for the kids, you know, kind of try to get the name of the song in the clip so that they could get it. And this always takes you back, the little house in the bottom. So John Hughes movies, oh my gosh. So this was Music Jeopardy. The way we connected it in my school district was through music and band. They did the last 2 weeks of school. But then we were trying to come up with other ways. So we were thinking, you know, with books, you're doing a book study, an author study, you know, what music fits that book, theme of book. In the library, definitely you could have music video or Music Jeopardy with books, you know, what song represent a book the best way. So there's just all different ways. Just get creative. This is more enrichment. It's not, you know, to directly teach something. But anyway, so that's Music Jeopardy. All right. So NCWise OWL, if you didn't already know about NCWise OWL, everyone has it in North Carolina. If you open up ncwiseowl.org in your school, you won't need a password. But if you want the kids to do something at home, they do need this password. And the password this year, started July 1st, is WiseOwl21. And I want to show you NCBOLD because it's an amazing resource that you can use for elementary, middle, high. They have general reference. They have ebooks. You can also search by subject or publications. And then they have a section just for educators that have, amazing things. If you're teaching high school, one of the things when I taught in the library at the high school, I used for their research points of view. This is an amazing resource. So if they're searching points of view, I know with the CTE Foods 1, Foods 2, they had to search the pros and cons of e-cigarettes and something else. There was a couple of things they had to search, and they use that points of reference to find research for, the pros and cons, and then they had a debate. So they have amazing things on here. Britannica is just a wealth of knowledge that I use for links. That you can search pretty much anything. They have articles, they have images, they have videos, they have biographies. They just have so much content. I will tell you, they don't have anything on the black-footed cat though. So if you're doing any research on the black-footed cat, there's nothing. So, all right. Oh, I went to the wrong one. Oops, we're on enrichment. See, I jumped to my other one. I apologize. All right. So that's, so what I would like you to do now, I know I've been talking a lot, so I'm going to stop talking for a few minutes. I would love for you to go to this Padlet. You can either scan the QR code or click on the link, and I will put the link in the chat box. I would love to hear your ideas. What could you create using Google? Whether you're using a Google Slides, you're using Google Docs, Google Jeopardy. What could you use to create, and what could you use Google products to create? So I got to move this. It's in my way again. Put it in the chat box. Oh, good. Some of you guys wrote some great things. Here's the Padlet. And while you're filling out the Padlet, I want to look at the chat box. So take a few minutes. If you need to stand up and walk around, you are more than welcome to do that too. Did I mail the letters to libraries? Unfortunately, yes, we did. But unfortunately, the letters, because of the pandemic, I think everything just got shut down. Everything just got, but yes, we did send out the letters. But we did not get very much back. But if we have time, I can show you one where we did get things back. That's not its original presentation. Yes, the music Jeopardy, Jason, is, oh, good, you're music teachers. Yes, and the music teachers loved it. The music and band combined their classes the last 2 weeks of school, and they just did all sorts of things with the music Jeopardy. So yes. But remember to keep it under 30 seconds for copyright. Oh, Hallmark Christmas movies. Oh, yes, I love Hallmark Christmas movies. Book reviews, yes, book reviews. That would be great. What song best represents the book? That would be so much fun to do. So let's see what you guys, and again, please feel free to unmute yourself if you want to share something, ideas that you have. And so this Padlet, I have it by area, subject area, and if you have any links that you would like to share with anyone. Jeopardy with shapes, that's a great idea. Yes, the drag and drop for letter shape, yes, definitely. But please unmute yourself. It's not, the Jessica show by any means. Please share and have a conversation.
So where you showed how to do the escape rooms, can we see that through your presentation?
Yes, if you go, I'm going to put the s'more. I will go back and link out the s'more, but it's in the presentation under the s'more.
Okay.
I'll put the direct link in the chat box also. for you. I don't know if it's my computer, but Zoom doesn't always like to show me everything. There we go. I put the s'more, the direct link to the s'more in the chat box for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Someone asked about letters. I will share, this is my tomorrow session, but I will share where we actually did get letters back from another project I did when I taught second grade. I just think with the pandemic, people were like, I'm not touching mail. I'm not doing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for second grade, so these students are now 8th grade students. So this was quite a while ago, well before the pandemic. So we sort of did the same thing. This was when I was still in the classroom, and I collaborated with our media coordinator, ITF, and I had a student teacher. So I had help. Please do not think I did this all on my own. And this was a year-long project I did with my students because they were second grade. But we wrote to national parks. And if you want, I'll put this link also so you can see it in the chat box. There we go. Okay. And so this was a year-long project that I did with my second grade students. I did a lot of it in the classroom, but I did collaborate also with people. And there's my 4 C's. I love them. And there's all the directions of what I did, but I'll show you. I'll talk through the pictures. So we wrote letters all around the world. So the first week of school, in order to see how they write, how they spell, what they knew about their maps, what they knew about the world, we did 100 questions around the world, or 100 questions about the world. And I had an old school map, and I had some globes that were in the library. I went and grabbed them all and put them on their desk for about a week. So they really got to use the globes, touch the globes, look at everything. And I was able to analyze what they knew and how they could spell and how they wrote. And then read for information, and we read fiction. So we read Flat Stanley, Dear Mr. Blueberry, Letters to Felix. We did all of these books, and they loved it. And then I recorded them talking about what countries. I just literally pulled them in the hallway and gave them a globe and had them read to me. So I knew what they could write and what they could read. This is just phone. So they're cute. They were adorable. So I did that with all the kids. And then when we studied science, I connected as much as I could with the mountains, with the oceans, everything with maps in their projects. And then here we are in the library learning. So we took a virtual field trip with the librarian in the classroom. And then we created our little flat. So everyone always did Flat Stanley. So I did flat superheroes with my kids, and I took close-up pictures of their faces and taped and glued them on their little superheroes. So we got a little creative, and we practiced writing our letters, and we wrote thank you notes to our custodians, and then we delivered the letters to our custodians. So they got the feel of what it is to mail a letter and give a letter and receive a letter. So they were all excited about that. And then I actually did mail their letters around the world. So I took pictures so the kids knew that I really did send them. And then this is where I did a huge collaboration for a week. So we went to the library for a week during our reading time. I ran my reading groups. My student teacher read their letters with them and had them practice reading their letters one-on-one. And this was in 2015. And then our librarian, she would help them with, she did a science, whatever we were studying at science at the time. So she did a science rotation with us. And then my ITF, she took the kids in a room and she had filmed them. They got to pick out their background, and then they read their letter we tried to get them to memorize their letter the best they could so they could make eye contact. So this took a full week during reading time, but the kids were in rotation, so they had 4. So they read their letter. So that took an entire week, but we did get letters back. So I'm so excited. So I had all those in there. They should, where's there? There it is. So they came back. So Kiera, hers came back from Australia. And that went to a national park in Australia. And then I hung everything up in the hallway and I had it connected to a map.
That's cool.
Yeah, I had one student, he yelled at me. He's like, why are you putting all those strings? You're covering the map. But here's Evan came back from Japan. I had letters from Croatia, from Greenland, all different parks, the Joshua parks. I did have some letters not come back also. One little girl, she sent her letter to India. It did not come back at all, like nothing, no email, nothing. So she was really disappointed. But anyway, so that is, so these letters did come back, but I think the libraries last year, like I said, with the pandemic, they just didn't come back. I think people were afraid to touch their mail and stuff.
Yeah.
So the Padlet, let's look at the Padlet, see how it's been updated with different things. So biographies, Jeopardy, yeah, math. Definitely, I think you could do some of these definitely with some math, like math biographies, shapes, different ways, games, math games. All right. So, so we did the Padlet. So creating something, what I did, this out. There we go. Okay. So what I start with is a standard, and in my position now that I'm in, the teachers usually come to me with their standard already. So one thing when you're setting up the design, you want to choose your standard. You want to choose your essential question. Use your digital resources. I did provide the digital library on there. If students have a public library card, they can access NC Digital Library, which is fantastic. They have a kids version and they have an adult version. So if you're working with middle school, high school, you may want to use the regular digital library, or if you're using elementary, I would definitely recommend NC Kids. So if they do have their public library card. NCWise OWL, graphic organizers. This is a link to graphic organizers that was created by Stacy Lovedahl. I think I already have it. I do. So Stacy Lovedahl created this and it's free. You can use it. You can make a copy of it. She has graphic organizers of all sorts. I mean, just crazy different graphic organizers already made that you can use. So that's there for you. So you can make a copy of that. And then decide on your final product. What do you want it to look like? What do you want it to feel like? What kind of digital project would you like to create? What is your outcome with your students? What do you want them to learn at the end of everything? And then design the steps in learning. So what I did is I made copies for you here without anything on it. So here is the library project that I created, and I named it Attendee NCBOLD. So when you open this, it's going to have blank for your project, it has your name. I deleted all the standards. I just left these so that you could fill them in. I did put the sample of letter in there. I made a forced copy for you so you can see the sample letter already. I have one arrow that you can just click on and you can make a copy of it. And I have it already linked to a forced copy of the Google Doc already for you. And I did the same thing for the states. And then I left the sources page for you just to add on. So everything's there for you. It's blank. You can just fill it in, get your ideas on there. I also have a blank copy of this that you can make a copy of. And you can change the colors. If you don't like it red, white, and blue, you can go ahead and change the colors. You would just change the fill. And then ooh, look, I misspelled something. And then I just left the white words there so that you can just highlight and click and then do your insert of your link however you want to. And then insert Google Form. I left this link to slide 3 for you. And then the same with this one. This one would go back to slide 2. So these are already created for you, or ready for you to create, I should say. So I have those. What they wanted you to do is to create something and then add it to go open. But with our time, I don't want to rush you. We're done in 20 minutes. What I was thinking, maybe I can stop sharing the screen and we could just share ideas and have a really nice conversation if you would like. If you do not want to do that, we don't have to do that. And originally I had a Flipgrid in here, but when you're using the camera for Zoom, you can't use it for Flipgrid. So, but I thought you could share your ideas and give each other feedback. So that's another idea that you can do with your classroom with Flipgrid. Flipgrid is fantastic.
I love Flipgrid.
Yes, I did. I love, oh my gosh, I know they changed their name, but they used to call it the Disco. Yes, Flipgrid is really, really cool. So it's up to you guys. This is your time. I'm going to stop sharing just for a minute. This is your time. If you guys want to have a conversation, share ideas. If you don't feel comfortable talking, you can share it in the chat box. I would love to hear what you would like to do. Or if you want to spend 10 minutes creating something and then share what you created, we can do that too. This is your time, your learning, your summer.
What are some things that you've used Flipgrid for? Or like activities you've used for Flipgrid?
Sure. Do you want me to just show my Flipgrid
Sure.
channel?
Sure.
Okay. Oh, I clicked chat by accident. Okay, let me go out and give me just 1 second to pull it up. So one of the things, I took a class last summer and it was over Zoom with it was a professor from NC State and Duke University called Marine Debris. And that was amazing. And I used Flipgrid for that. Let me pull up Flipgrid. And log in. So this one is the marine debris, and I got all of the ideas from the NC State and Duke University. So if you ever have the opportunity to take that class, oh my gosh, is so worth it. It's 4th and 5th grade science connections, but when I was taking the class, I thought of so many connections. So I set it up so that we talked about the marine debris story. I put in videos for Trash Talk and Art to Save the Sea. So I had information here. I had the questions they had to answer, and then they watched the video. And then they had their responses to the video. So that whole class I have in there. Go back. So I have that whole class in there. And then some of the teachers for PD last summer, we had to do trauma PD, and our teachers were taking a class through another website, but then they had to react to it. So we put our whole trauma PD on there. And then we also did notice and note, and we did a book study. So we had all their activities. The teachers responded to Flipgrid, responded and shared their things through Flipgrid. And then for learning, we have learning focused lessons. And so what I've been doing is as the learning focused lessons are approved and vetted, I then take certain parts of those lessons that are linked to the internet and I automatically put them on Flipgrid so our teachers could go in and make a copy of them and use them with their classroom. So anything that we're doing with weather patterns, for example, I have those lessons on there too. One of the things I also did with our students, we read, I'm trying to think, what's that book? Oh, The One and Only Ivan. So we did the whole thing about One and Only Ivan. And so I made these different videos and went out and found things on One and Only Ivan. And then the teacher made copies of them. So that's one of the things that I do. Any kind of video that we're doing, I put it on Flipgrid, and then our teachers make copies and have it in their classroom for Flipgrid.
How do they make copies of them?
You make them co-pilots.
Oh, okay.
And then when they become co-pilots, they can go ahead and make copies of everything, and then you remove them as co-pilots. Yeah. So that's been one way with our district. Or I just share them in the Disco library. So, and that's what I've been doing with some of the learning focused lessons. Putting them in here.
You do like whole units on there.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I have. But there's so much other things you can do too. I've done
book reviews, fractions. I would have them because I did most of my teaching was remote last year.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my first experience with Flipgrid because I had to use it. I would have them do like fractions, like they would, we were talking about arrays, so they would find something at home that looked like an array and video it. Sequencing activities they would do at home. They got really creative. I was real impressed.
Yes. One of the things we also did was pre-assessment for vocabulary. So I took kids one-on-one for a teacher, and I had them look at the words and pick a word that they either knew or didn't know, and they would say the word, and then they would say what they thought their definition was. And so it was for the animal habitat, and so for the word diet, they definitely know what it is to go on a diet, but they didn't know what diet meant for animals. So that was quite interesting. So the teacher knew through all the videos what the kids knew and didn't know. So we used it as a pre-assessment one activity. So it was really cool. Yeah, it's just another way of thinking of it. But yeah, definitely like if I was in the classroom, I would probably run my whole classroom through Flipgrid. I love Flipgrid.
Once the kids got used to using it and seeing themselves on the computer, they just kind of took off. They got real creative. One little girl, I got so tickled at her. She was doing a video, and her mom had called her to do something, and she was like, "Mom, I'm doing my Flipgrid video." So they were taking it seriously.
That's awesome. Yeah, one thing you can do on Flipgrid that I would love to do is introduce each other on Flipgrid using the pixel background so that you can't see the kid, and then they have to give like clues, and then the kids go back in and guess who each other are. That's so much fun.
Well, that would be cool.
Yeah, definitely. I know we only have 10 minutes left, so I'm just gonna share the screen again. They want to make sure that you fill out the assessment, and I want to show you at the very end. At the very end, this is optional. This is me. If you have any comments or questions or suggestions that you just want to share with me, it's optional. You do not have to fill this out, but it's there. Like, so say, for example, you saw something that I shared and the copy didn't work right, or, I just thought I'd put it in there in case you need to contact me, or if you wanted something else, that's there. But for NCBOLD, for you to get the credit, I'm going to remove the green. Actually, I'm just going to delete that. There. So you would need to scan this code to take you to, If you cannot scan the code, you would just go to NCBOLD feedback 21 and share your feedback on this. I hope this went well. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If there's anything I can do, anything that you have any more questions on, please feel free to ask. If there's something, anything you need. Do you have any other questions? Oh, great. Yes, a farewell video for staff that left. That's perfect. Yes. Great idea. Feel free to unmute yourself if you have any questions, but otherwise you can fill out the code in feedback. Thank you for coming. I hope this was helpful. Yes, so to get your CEUs, you go to the either slide 17 or 18. If you cannot scan the QR code, then they gave you this NCBOLD feedback 21. And you click this link and it takes you to the feedback, and then the feedback will send it to the state for you to get your CEUs so you get your certificate after the conference is over. I hope that made sense.